My name's Justin Weatherby. I'm part of the BuildOps team. Today, we're going to be talking about service and projects together. One of the reasons I came to join the BuildOps team was that they had this offering to accommodate both sides of your business. A lot of companies just do service. A lot of companies don't just do project management, but here at BuildOps, we're doing both and doing both really well. So we'll walk you guys through the product today, answer any questions that might come up, and take it from there. You know, my background is in construction. I've been a field superintendent, project manager, estimator, but about 10 years ago, I jumped into the construction technology space. And I've been basically on the implementation side of construction technology for my entire career. So looking forward to working with you all today and walking you guys through the product. Just give you a little bit of background on who BuildOps is. BuildOps is an all-in-one software built for commercial specialty contractors. We're going to be streamlining both your service, maintenance, and project management. We were founded in 2018, a veteran-owned company. Also, our founder was a contractor as well, saw a need in the market, and that's where BuildOps came in to sort of fill that void. We'll be covering scheduling, dispatching, quoting and proposals, service agreement, invoicing, customer management, project management, accounting, invoicing, all that sort of stuff here in the webinar today. Now, I mean, you know, why BuildOps? Well, what it really comes down to is, you know, the day and age that we're living in right now, skilled labor is very hard to find, both out in the field and also in the office. So we want to give you a tool to be able to do more with the staff that you have. Because a lot of companies are finding room to grow, even in the climate that we're in today. But the problem is bringing in qualified people. So letting BuildOps be a force multiplier for you and your team. Basically, run your jobs more profitably, less overhead, fewer staff, and just try to streamline that communication end to end. So let's go ahead and jump right into BuildOps now. Give me a quick second. I'll go ahead and pull this over on the screen. We'll go ahead and start here on our dispatch board. Now, when it comes to BuildOps, I think the best way to understand the workflows here in the product is, just to go through a basic day in the life. And so I like to start with a phone call that comes into the office. Now, when that phone call comes in, basically one of two things are going to happen. It's either emergency sort of T&M work, we need to get it dispatched quick, or they're calling because they want a quote. Now, no matter what page I'm on at BuildOps, when that call comes in, I'm going to go up here to the search bar to look that customer up. Now, on the commercial side, we're typically doing work for existing customers. And even if this is a new customer, I want to verify that, one, they're not already in the system yet. So I can look up the customer info by typing in the contact's name. So if I got John on the phone, I could type John in there and, see he's related to Scripps Medical Group. If I have the address of the property that we need to service, I could type that address in as well. Obviously, if I have the customer name, I could type in the customer as well. And what we're looking at here, this is our main billing customer, Scripps Medical Group. And then down below, we have the individual properties that we are servicing for Scripps. We've got the surgery center, the emergency care facility, the outpatient center, and right from the search bar, without going any further, I could go ahead and create a job if this was T&M work, or I can go ahead and create a quote if I needed to as well. Now, I'm going to go ahead and kind of take the scenic route. As I mentioned, you can go ahead and kick these off right from here. You need to go no further, but I want to sort of, show you what is all in the customer profile and then, move down into the property profile as well. So here at the customer, what you'll notice up here at the top is we've got tags. So these tags are customizable and help with sorting and reporting. And we have specific tags for customers, specific tags for jobs. And again, this helps just facilitate some of the workflows you all might have. At the customer level, I can see their payment terms, their net 30. I can default an invoice type. So if this customer requests like a detailed invoice with all the line items, or maybe, we can just send them subtotals, we can go ahead and call that out here at the customer level, and also their outstanding balance as well. So, before we dispatch somebody out there, I could see, they've kind of racked up a pretty big balance with us. And, if I call that customer and put in any sort of notes, I can see those customer notes over here on the right. Now, down below, we've got the different properties that we service for this customer. We have any contacts at the customer level, any jobs that we've done for this customer in the past. Now, I can come in here and look through this list of jobs, or I can also use the search bar up here at the top and search for the description of a job to find it that way, as well as the job number. If we have any service agreements with this customer, we'll see those. On the accounting side, the invoices and the status of those invoices. I can include attachments at the customer level. And then on the activity tab, what we're doing there is tracking user activity. So if somebody's edited this customer or changed something, we're logging that information internally so that you guys can see if your users have made updates into the system. Now, a lot of the magic is down here at the next level, at the property level. So keep in mind, we have this hierarchy where Scripps Medical Group is paying the bills, but we have different sites that we service. So we'll pop into the surgery center. And here at the surgery center, we've got our property instructions. So if there's like a door code or a parking restrictions or rooftop access, anything like that, we're going to see that here at the property level. I'll be able to put those notes in. And when I dispatch a job on this property, these property instructions will automatically carry over to my folks out in the field. Now, just like at the customer level, I can see the jobs that we've done on this property, any maintenances, for our preventative maintenances, contacts at the property level, attachments. So folks might upload like a rooftop map at the property level, and your folks out in the field will have access to that. You also might have a campus map, let's say. And again, your folks out in the field will be able to see these property attachments if you give them those permissions. Also at the property level, we can track the different assets that are on site. And basically these are different pieces of equipment. So in this case, we'll pop open this chiller. And for any of the equipment on site, obviously we've got the model number, serial number. Down below, we can see the service history for this piece of equipment. I can include any attachments. So if there's like a chiller service manual, something like that I want to include, again, I can upload this to the asset and my folks out in the field will have access to this as well. I can call out commonly used parts. So, understanding what refrigerant is being used, what belts or filters does this take is super helpful. So, I've got an idea of what this is going to require before I even get on site. And then a lot of times our customers have like custom forms or custom checklists that they want the folks out in the field to fill out. So we've got a full form building engine integrated into BuildOps that will either allow you to create your own custom forms, or you could upload fillable PDFs. So if you need to use a manufacturer's warranty form, or if a customer has some sort of checklist that needs to be filled out on their paperwork, you can either create your own or go ahead and upload forms. And in this case, I've attached this form to this piece of equipment. So every time we're out there servicing it, we can go ahead and utilize that. Also, another big one's going to be warranties. And you can have multiple warranties on one piece of equipment. So, it might be like a manufacturer warranty, or it might also be a like installation warranty there as well. Now, keep in mind that on your Zoom controls today at the bottom, there's a spot for a chat and also a spot for Q&A. So as I go through this, if you have any questions, feel free to drop those in there and I'll do my best to answer them as we go through. So we've talked about that that customer property asset hierarchy. And in this case, what I want to do is I want to just schedule a T&M job and get that dispatched to my folks out in the field. So since I'm here at the property, I can go ahead and click Create Job. And up here at the top, you see that we've got a spot for Property Representative. So this would be the person on site that my technician needs to go and meet with. So in this case, we'll say Joe is the facility manager. This is who my technician is going to meet with on site. But we also have a field for authorized by. And so this would be the person calling in and requesting the work. So Mary called in and requested the work, but Joe is my on-site contact, my facility manager that the technician needs to meet with. Now, if for whatever reason the contact isn't already listed here, I could just go ahead and start typing their name and create that contact on the fly. So I don't need to go out and come back in. I'm able to do that right from this page. So if the customer gives you a PO number, we can go ahead and throw that in there. If they give me a work order number, we can go ahead and capture that as well. We have something called a price book. So if you have different labor and material rates for different customers or different types of work, we can go ahead and handle those different price books. And these price books can be assigned to a customer so that these will default automatically for any work that we might be doing. If there's an NTE, a not to exceed amount, we can go ahead and list that in here. And we'll talk about these next few in a little bit, but sales amount, cost amount, and budgeted hours. These would come from an approved quote that we then converted to a job. In this example, this is T&M work, and we've got, so sales amount, cost amount, budgeted hours don't apply. But if this was quoted work, this would automatically fill from the approved quote. If there's a project manager I need to call out here, or account manager, or sales rep, I can do all that. Departments needed, again, customized field. Priority on this call, we'll just say, no AC in the lobby. And this issue description field will get as big as you would ever need it. So, don't worry about just the box here. If you've got a whole paragraph of information you want to put in there, feel free to do so. Now, down here at the bottom, I can go ahead and create a visit along with this job. So if I knew who I wanted to send and what time I wanted to send them out there, I could do that while creating the job. I could create the job and dispatch it all in one step. Now, in this example, I don't know exactly who's available. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this job up, and we'll talk a little bit about the job file, and then go ahead and dispatch it out. So up here at the top, we see the job number. This job numbering is customizable, but essentially BuildOps will auto increment this number for you. We've got different statuses. We've got a completion status. So is this job on hold? Is it in progress? Has it been canceled? Is it completed? We also have a quote status as well. A lot of times your technician will be out in the field and the customer might request either something related to this job or something, totally unrelated, but they may request that we quote some additional work for them. And we'll see what it looks like on the mobile app, but my technician can flag this job and say, hey, there's a quote needed. And that way those don't slip through the cracks. We've got alerting and dashboarding set up for that. We'll take a look at. Same thing on the PO side. If there's special order POs, I can track the PO status on this job. Do we need POs? Have we have draft POs? Have they been ordered? Have they been received in full, etc.? And once this job is complete, is it ready for review, and whether or not it's been invoiced yet. So we'll see all of these statuses update as we kind of run this job end to end. Down here below, similar layout that we've seen on the other pages. I got scheduling, quotes, tasks, forms, and attachments. So if there's anything I need to upload here, I can do that. Parts and purchasing, job costing, and invoicing. Again, we'll watch this whole thing build out as we start working this job through. Now, what I will do is I will come in here and put a couple tasks in on this job. And typically we see these tasks being utilized on the preventative maintenance side. And we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. But basically you'll have some predefined task lists that will allow the technician to go in and check those off as they are completed. I'm just throwing in a couple placeholders there so we can see what it looks like on the mobile app. Now, if you guys have any questions on, the job creation, that customer, property, asset hierarchy, feel free to drop those in the chat, and I'll go ahead and answer those as needed. Now, before I dispatch this out, I want to come over here and take a look to see who's available. So if I open the dispatch board, I'm going to see a list of my technicians over here on the left. And I can filter those technicians down either by department if I need to, or we've got something called a crew. And a crew is a great way of grouping techs together. These crews are totally customizable. You might have crews broken out by skill set or certification or geolocation, and one technician could be in multiple crews. So, we're working on the chiller, so I went and selected my chiller guys, and I could pull open my unassigned jobs down here at the bottom from the bottom tray, and then just drag these up to the technicians as needed. So very convenient way to get these scheduled out. I can also click on the visit, and it'll open up here in the side card as well. Now, I could go ahead and select additional technicians, what day and time we need them to go out there. We've got a lot of different options, and all of these tables that you see within BuildOps, they're all customizable. So if I wanted to move these columns around, I could do that. I could save different views and set what views are my default views so that the information in here can be presented in a way that makes sense for that particular user and maybe what their job description is. Now I went and dragged this visit up here onto the dispatch board. I can move it around or make that visit longer or shorter as needed. It's all click to drag functionality. We're looking at a day view right now, but we also have a week view as well. So if you wanted, if you wanted to look at it that way, you could do that, and you could jump as far into the future as you would like. So there's no limit on how far in advance you can go ahead and schedule these visits out. Now, besides the schedule view, we also have a map view as well that'll show you, where your technicians are, where the jobs are, so that it'll help you go ahead and route these. Hey, Glenn's right near the outpatient center, so maybe I'll send him over there. Or, Jesse's closer to the Walmart. We'll go ahead and once he wraps up his job, get him over onto that job as well. So not just the schedule view, but map view in there as well. So before we hop out into the field and sort of, see what the technician does, I want to wrap up a couple things here in the office. Number one is going to be quoting. We mentioned before that, two major types of work that we're going to be running is either T&M work, which I just scheduled. You just create the job and dispatch it. Another one's going to be quoted work. Now, when I talk to different contractors, they've told me that they have a little bit of trouble with these quotes sort of slipping through the cracks. Now, our quotes have a number of different statuses that help make sure we're following up with these appropriately. Whenever I create a quote, it'll start as a draft. Now, once that quote's been completed, I can then go ahead and email it out to the customer, and it'll change the status to sent to customer. Now, when the customer gets that email and opens the email, there's a trigger that's sent back to BuildOps that'll let us know that the email's been read. And then if they open the attached quote, it'll go to customer viewed. Now, the nice thing with these quotes is they're super flexible on, how I go about creating them. Let's go ahead and see if we can't find a decent one in here, pop open. So at the high level, I'm going to go ahead and put in, the title of the quote, version of the quote, when is it due by, how long is this quote valid for, that basic header information. And if you notice up here at the top, it also lets me know that there's recommendations for this property. Now, this is going to be coming from my guys out in the field. So if my guys out in the field see something that needs to be quoted, or there's a request for something to be quoted, we can go ahead and select which of those items we want to include, and then go ahead and transfer that directly over to the quote. Now, when it comes to doing your scope and pricing, you can basically break out different line items on that quote. And then from there, we can go ahead and add the labor and like material line items in there. And it's up to you what level of detail we're actually going to show our customer on this, right? We can choose to show them every single line item, or we can go ahead and pare some of that down so they only see maybe the grand totals. And you're able to create these quote presets and then save these presets and use these for different customers. So we'll go to our subtotals here and pop this one open. And what's nice is it's going to take this information and slide it down to slide it into a Word document, and that Word document then can be edited. And I say a Word document. Technically, this is a live PDF, meaning I can make changes to it like it was any other Word document, but it's a what you see is what you get situation where it'll show me where the page breaks come in. And if I need to add a little bit of padding into that, I could, to make sure, that I'm not cutting this off halfway in between pages. I could add numbers and bullets and all that sort of stuff. I could have skipped the step before on the scope and pricing section. And, instead of filling all that out, I could just come in and type it in. Now, notice that we're filling in different smart fields. So, the date and the customer and the address and all that sort of stuff, we're able to pre-populate your template. So this is just an example template, but your template, we will be able to mimic here in the system and then choose what smart fields we want to fill in and where those smart fields should go. So basically anything that we've entered on that previous page, we can go ahead and pull into this quote template. And when it's ready to go, it'll generate the PDF. I can go ahead and send it to any of my contacts or multiple contacts if needed. I can also have a template for that quote message as well. Once I send it to the customer, we can go ahead and they can approve it or reject it on their side. If they approve it, they can give me a PO number. If for whatever reason they called me and told me, hey, go ahead, move forward with this quote, I could manually update the status and mark it as approved. If I got a PO number for them, I can go ahead and put that in. If there's any sort of comments that we need to go in here, I can put any comments in and go ahead and mark this as approved. And then once this quote is approved, I can now convert this to a job or to a project. Now this sort of opens that this service versus project conversation. We have two major ways of running work. We have a job, which is going to be, mostly on the service side. It can be installations. If you're going to be out there for a couple days, couple weeks, jobs are a great way to run and manage that work. Now, if you're going to be out there for months or years and you need to track RFIs and submittal packages and do AI8 progress billing, then we're going to want to convert. We're going to want to be able to utilize a project. And we'll talk about project management here in just a little bit. Now, the other major thing on the service side that we wanted to touch on, we talked about quoted work, we talked about T&M work, and the third major revenue stream there is going to be your preventative maintenance. So the way the preventative maintenance works is we're going to start with a template of tasks that need to be performed against your different types of assets. So on your chillers, you might have a major service that you do annually and then a minor service that you might do quarterly. And you'll come in here and list the generic checklist items that need to be completed on either of those types of maintenances. And don't let my examples sort of pigeonhole this functionality. If you need to go out there weekly, you can do that. If it's biannual, fine. If you do a fall maintenance and a winter maintenance, okay with me. If you do a summer startup and a winter shutdown, that works fine too. It's totally up to you how you group these types of services together, and they're all based on asset type. So when I go to actually create a service agreement, it's going to pull those templates in for the different assets that I have there on site. And so again, right, I've got, this minor quarterly service where we're changing belts and filters for the RTUs. And then I've got a major service that we're doing annually where we're, working on the boilers and the chillers. Now, we talked about that form tool before. And in this example, I just, instead of listing out everything that I needed to do, I said, just, hey, see the checklist, fill out the checklist. And again, you guys are able to upload your own types of checklists and allow those to be filled out from the field. And we'll see what those forms look like and the different types of forms once we go into the mobile device. Now, based on the cadence and based on the tasks, we're going to auto-generate maintenance work orders and have a dashboard where you can make sure, that they've been scheduled, if they've been completed, are they overdue? And if I need to, I could schedule them directly from this page and create visits and assign those to my technicians. Or like we saw before, I can do it from the dispatch board as well. And here I'll filter these down for, my maintenance crew, bring up my unassigned work and, just my maintenances. And then again, I can go ahead and drag these up for my particular technicians as needed and get those scheduled for them. Because we know the parts and we know when these services are due, we're also able to export a parts list for your upcoming maintenances. So a lot of my clients will, let's say, pull a parts list for all maintenances that are going to be completed next month. That way they can get those filters and belts, et cetera, ordered. So that way, when it's time to go do those maintenances, we have those in stock. And we can talk a little bit about inventory and, managing inventory here as well. Let's go ahead and switch gears a little bit and let's pop open the mobile app. Give me a quick second here and I'll get my phone up on the screen. Here we go. So when I log in to the mobile device as a technician, the first thing that I'm going to see is all the visits that I'm scheduled for today. So I've got an 8 a.m., which I've completed. I've got a 10 a.m. and then a 1 p.m. that I need to do. If you give them access, they can view past visits as well as future visits. And if I make a change to their schedule within a 24-hour period, so, basically if it's for today or, tomorrow afternoon, it's going to send them an alert to let them know that, there's been a job assigned to them. That's going to come in like any other notification would. If they've got their ringer on their phone, it'll ring, it'll vibrate, it'll pull down from the top. If they click on any of those, it'll take them into this screen here. And our mobile app is available for both Android and Apple devices, whether those are phones or tablets, and it's available in offline mode as well. Now, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and pop open the visit here for the surgery center where there's no AC in the lobby. And up here at the top, I've got these action buttons. And as I click these buttons, it's going to update the dispatch board back in the office. So if I hit travel on the dispatch board in the office, it'll show me as traveling. I get to the job site, go ahead and click work. It'll show me as working back in the office. And every time I hit one of these buttons, it's going to capture my GPS location and a timestamp. And that becomes useful later down the line if a customer says, hey, your technician wasn't here for 4 hours. And I call the technician, I'm like, hey, were you there for 4 hours? And, he says, of course he was. And the customer says, of course he wasn't. Be honest with you, in those situations, I don't believe either one of them, but I don't need to because I can go back here and check those timestamps, see where they were, when they click those buttons, and ultimately get a resolution there. And we'll see what that looks like in a little bit. Now, we're going to put these buttons on hold for now and kind of move down the page. And this is all the information that we entered back in the office. So I've got my address. I could click on the pin drop icon and it'll fire up Google Maps or Apple Maps, whatever I'm using there. Rolling down this page, I can see the property representative. So if I need to make contact with them, I can click on their phone number and call them, or click on their email address and email them. Authorized by, so in this case, Mary called and requested the visit, but Joe is our facility manager on site. We see those property instructions that we talked about before. So those automatically carry over to every job from the property. So, I'm supposed to use the west entrance and there's a door code here. If there's any parking restrictions or rooftop access, you'd put those in at the property level and they'll show up here for my technician out in the field. And then if you give them access, they can view past jobs as well that we've done on this property. So if I pop that open, I'll see a list of those jobs that we've done out here and be able to scroll through those and see, if we've done anything similar out there. And if we had, I could go ahead and, click on that and actually open up the technician's report, the previous technician's report. And if they took pictures or put in comments or anything like that, I could read those comments, view those pictures, etc. So super helpful for your technician out in the field to understand what prior work has been completed and be able to reference that as needed. Down here below, we get into, the PO number, the NTE, issue description. There's no AC in the lobby. And then I've got this option here for view more info. And this is going to be where I see those property attachments. So, again, if I've got that rooftop map that I need to take a look at, I can pop that open here on the mobile device. Campus map, something like that. They can pop those open as well. Be able to pinch and zoom, right? As you would expect that they could. I can also come down here and see a full list of my assets broken out by asset type. And so if I expand one of these sections and pop open the chiller, let's say, I can see the service history on the chiller, any parts and materials, the service manual in here as well. I could click and open that. That way, as a technician, I now got all of the information that I need to be able to successfully complete this visit. So everything that we looked at up here at the top, this was all informational. Now down here at the bottom, that's where we get into the tech report itself. We'll kind of walk through each of these sort of step by step. Number one, tasks. Again, we're going to see this used really heavily on the maintenance side of things, but I can come in here and see, hey, there's some tasks for the chiller. Okay, I'm supposed to do this and then do that. I can either mark these off individually, mark them as complete, or I could go ahead and mark them all off at once, right? Once I finish that. Recommended tasks, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Forms, we mentioned this form builder a couple different times. Let me show you what that looks like here on the mobile device. We've got a few different types of forms that we can utilize. The ones that we create ourselves, where I can just go in and check the box and fill in the blanks, capture signatures if I need to as well. Or this could be a fillable PDF that I need to upload. So, like sprinkler fire protection is a big one where you've always got to use their form. So we can go ahead, upload those forms. We got our engine will look to see where those fillable fields are and go ahead and call those out. During setup, if for whatever reason it's not able to identify a specific field, you can control and customize the entry points on those different items and, check the box, fill in the blank type of stuff there. But again, it's now filling out a PDF instead of just my own internal form. So super powerful on that form building side. I've seen a lot of different standalone form tools since I've been in construction technology. And based on what I've seen, the tool that we have natively in our program should be able to go toe-to-toe with those standalone solutions for your form needs. If there's any questions on forms or the mobile app, feel free to drop those in the chat and I'll go ahead and get those answered. Moving on, I've got assets worked on. So any of these fields within BuildOps I could make required. It knows that I worked on the chiller because I completed tasks on there. So it went ahead and checked that off for me. But if I needed to come in here and, add some other assets that were worked on, I can do that. And then also, if for whatever reason, the piece of equipment that I'm working on isn't listed here in the asset list, I can actually add an asset from the field. Now, my background is in construction. I'm a carpenter by trade. And, over the years, I basically just pounded my thumbs flat. And so for me to be able to type in a make, model, or serial number accurately is probably not going to happen, on my phone. And what we're able to do is we're able to actually scan the data plate for that text. So, obviously I'm not sitting in front of an RTU right now, so I'll just pull one of these out of my gallery. We'll go ahead and get that selected, and I can go ahead and sort of select the area of the picture that I want to scan for text. And we've got a partnership with Google, so we're sending that up to Google. Google's coming back down with the text off of that data plate, and now I can just go ahead and copy and paste that info where it goes. So much more accurate, a lot quicker for my folks out in the field. And add a picture of the image, asset name, all that stuff, save it up. So we talked about tasks, forms, assets. Before photos, pretty straightforward here. I can either take photos from my gallery and add those, or add photos on the fly. Before photos and after photos work the same way. I can also include videos or files in either one of those sections. But the two areas where I get a lot of questions is on inventory and purchased items. So this is a T&M ticket. So obviously a big part, half of that is the material. And so whether I'm pulling it out of my truck or I'm going to the supply house and buying it, I want to be able to record that quickly onto this job so that we can bill the customer for it. So on the inventory side, I go ahead and click add inventory item, come up here to the search. I can select if I'm pulling this maybe from the main warehouse or from the truck. You can assign technicians to trucks, so it'll default that for them. And then, I'll type in what I'm looking for. Okay, here's a filter. How many of those filters did I use? I used, let's say, 3 of those. And go ahead and add that to the job. And then if I had another inventory item, same sort of song and dance there. Where did I pull it from? I pulled it from the truck again. What did I pull? I pulled a belt. How many of these belts did I use? I used 2 of those. And so those are my inventory items. And we'll take a look in the back office, but I can actually track inventory across multiple warehouses and multiple trucks. Take a look at the quantity on hand, the minimum quantities and the maximum quantities, and then pull reporting off of that. So if I'm within 10% of my minimums, maybe that'll show up on a dashboard for my purchasing manager to make sure we recoup stock on that. Now, on the other way I could consume equipment, or excuse me, material on this job is I need to go to the supply house. I'm going to go ahead and buy something over the counter. So I'm going to go ahead and click purchase order, and I'm going to add a purchase order. Now, it's totally up to you if you give your technicians the ability to do this, or if you make them call and request this PO. Either way, same process. I pick the vendor, PO type's just a way of grouping POs together, and I can go ahead and save this and take a picture of my packing slip or my receipt. So here I got my packing slip, make sure we get the total down there. And get that added in there. When I go to the supply house, I can give them this purchase order number. If I need this to go into a warehouse, I could do that as well. Now from here, we can either go ahead and just, complete this and save it, or depending on what information you want from your guys out in the field, you can have them either line item out this receipt, or maybe just put in one line item like miscellaneous materials for the, for the grand total. Totally up to you how you go about that. So, we go how much was this thing for? It was for, this receipt was for $24.50. So we'll say $24.50, and then go ahead and save that up. So that's the two ways to consume materials on this job, either pulling them from inventory or purchasing them over the counter. I can include after photos as well. Here, a visit summary. Let's say that I went and I wanted to click finish. And it'll ask me, were you able to complete the assigned work on this job? I'm going to say, yes, I was, but it's going to let me know that, hey, you haven't filled out the required sections yet. So each of these sections you can make required. And in this case, I didn't fill out my visit summary. So I can pop the visit summary open. I can utilize the talk to type feature to fill this out, period, which will allow me to get a lot of information back into the office very quickly, period. Go ahead and save that up. Now that I've got all the required sections filled out, I could actually go ahead and finish this job. But before I do, I want to draw your attention to the customer signature field. So if there's a customer signature required here, we're not going to show them any dollar amounts, but just a high level of what we did on that job. Go ahead and get them to sign off on it. And once I get their signature, I can actually email them this visit report directly from the field. This isn't an invoice. It's just going to be the visit summary of what work was completed, basically what they signed off right here. Also down at the bottom, we've got a spot for internal notes as well. So if there's something that you don't want the customer to see, it's a great place to throw those in as well. Now, I could scroll up here to the top and click finish. And if it'll ask me if I was able to complete the assigned work. And if I say no, it's going to give me a list of reasons or situations why I wasn't able to finish this work. Did we need an additional quote? Was there special order parts? Somebody had to leave, etc. And then this will flag these back in the office. Now, what I'm going to say here is I'm going to flag this, say there was a quote needed, and it's going to ask me, hey, you've requested a quote for this job. Do you want to add a recommended task to explain what work needs to be completed? So again, this is my folks out in the field. They are working on something totally different, but they ran into something that needs to be quoted. The customer asked them, to get a quote out to them for some other work that needs to be done. And I want to go ahead and flag this so that back in the office, I can go ahead and process this quote and make sure it doesn't slip through the cracks. So add recommendation, yes, please. I can go ahead and select an asset. So what was I working on? Let's say it's for the chiller. What do we need to do? We need to change the motor. I can give a more detailed description in here as well. I can add pictures. If you have a form that you want them to fill out, we can fill the a quote form out. Also, any parts or material or labor that might need to be captured, we can do that as well. So we can come in here and just say, service labor, we think it's going to take us 5 hours, add that in there. And then also, maybe, we got a motor in here or something like that. And now I'm going to save this, and this will go ahead and flag this back in the office. It'll go on to the recommendation dashboard. It's going to flag this as quote needed. So that way we can make sure that these action is taken against these, and we're able to complete the quote as requested. I'm going to go ahead and click finish up here at the top. Again, was I able to complete the assigned work? Yes, I was. Do I want to leave a note for the dispatcher? In this case, we're going to say without a note. And then it's going to ask, have you entered your timesheet on this job? Enter your time on this job. And I'm going to go ahead and say no, because I haven't, yet I want to get paid. So we'll go ahead and throw in, let's say 4 hours here. You have different buckets for time, and it's totally up to you how these buckets are utilized. You can have, one, or you can have a dozen different buckets for time, regular, overtime, and double time. You might have some, swing shift or graveyard or holiday, totally up to you, very flexible on that front. So we'll just go ahead and save and sign our time. Again, this is an option as well as the guys submit the time. If you want them to sign off that they were not injured, their timesheet's true and correct, they took the prescribed breaks, we can do that as well. Now, the other way of capturing time is we can allow those punches. When I clicked work and finish and those punches, we can have those automatically fill out the time card if you would like. So a couple different ways of tracking time. Let's go ahead and hop back into the office and take a look here at our completed job, and then we'll go ahead and process this this invoice through. Give me a quick second here while I'm switching out. Here we go. All right. So back here on the dispatch board, I can see that the job has been completed. It's been flagged. If I go ahead and click on that, I can see why it was flagged. So there was a quote needed, any sort of notes with that. I can open that recommendation. I could clear those flags if I needed to. We'll go ahead and leave this flag on here so we can see a couple other places it pops up. If I pop into my jobs list, this jobs table is totally customizable with the different columns that you see here. I can move those around so we can see, again, this job has been flagged. There's no AC in the lobby. It's been completed, but there's a quote needed. POs have been received. It's ready for review, but has not been invoiced yet. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this job open and open the job report. Now, if I went out there once or if I went out there a dozen times, all of the information that my technicians entered in the field will automatically come onto this page, this one page. So if we went out there a dozen times, I would see a dozen different labor entries or multiple different inventory items or multiple different POs, things like that. Now, I can make changes to this on the fly. So if I want to change the billable hours, I can do that and it'll update. My markups are driven off of my price book. My labor rates and material markup rates are driven off my price book, but I can override those if I needed to, either change the markup or maybe I want to change the cost on this item, right? It's way more expensive than it used to be. And I'm able to update all that on the fly. Now, once I review this and it all looks good, I can go ahead and mark this as reviewed, and that'll update that status to reviewed. And then I can either say this is ready to invoice, do not invoice, or just go ahead and create the invoice right now. And so I can invoice part of the job, specific visits. I can have multiple invoices on one job, and what it's going to do, it's going to carry over all the information that my technicians out in the field had entered onto this invoice. Now, the notes that the technician put in there, I can edit those if I needed to, add to them, whatever's necessary there. If for whatever reason I missed something and I needed to add a line item, even though I've made it to the invoice, I can still add line items or edit existing line items, delete them if needed. Now, a lot of times I don't want to show all of this detail to my customer. So just like the quotes, I could say instead of showing them a detailed invoice, I could turn some of these fields off or select one of the other invoice presets where, maybe I just show them, the subtotals. And so instead of getting all the details with every line item in there, we're going to have a more basic invoice that just calls out, labor and material and the grand total. But totally customizable on what fields that we show to them. And just like the quotes, I can see if this has been sent, delivered, and or read. Now, if you are utilizing an accounting package that we integrate with, I can go ahead and post that down to my accounting software. There's about a dozen of them that we work with off the top of my head: QuickBooks, your different Vista products or your Viewpoint products, Vista and Spectrum, Sage products, Sage Intact, probably a couple other that I'm forgetting there. But if you got any questions on those, drop it in the chat and with all those integrations, we're going to be sending down the purchase orders. We're going to be sending down invoices. We're going to be sending down customers and properties. Basically, all of the information that the accounting team needs from the operations team, we're going to go ahead and send that down to the accounting package so that they can run through those workflows as well. So let's go ahead and we'll wrap up on the service side, and we'll jump into project management because that really sets us apart from other folks out there. As you can tell, we're very robust here on the project on the service side, equally as robust on the project management side. So when I pop into project management, I'm going to see a list of the jobs that I'm assigned to as a project manager. And if I pop one of those jobs open, we'll kind of think of this as like a folder structure. Your top level folder is Jefferson High School. Then within there, I've got my different subfolders for RFIs, change orders, submittals, POs. We'll talk about finance, project settings, and files. Let's start with RFIs, not because they're particularly exciting, but because the workflow is identical for all of the other document control that I'm going to be doing. Basically, we want to move these from left to right, from draft to sent to responded, and then based on that response, I might need to take some additional action before I mark it as closed. Now, when it comes to creating these documents, essentially, I'm just going to come in and fill in the blank. So who's it going to? Who's it coming from? What's my subject? What information am I requesting? I can add a recommendation if I need to, put them on notice if there's an impact to our timeline or impact to our cost. If I need to reference a spec, drawing, or detail, I can do that as well. And then also, when do I need this RFI return to mitigate any sort of delays on this project? Now, once I fill this information out, it's essentially generating a PDF for me here on the here within BuildOps. Now, I'll go ahead and just show you a quick preview of what that looks like, but essentially PDF that we're able to send off to the customer. So anytime I say we're creating a document, it's creating a PDF. Anytime I'm saying we're emailing this document, we're emailing this PDF. Now, besides tracking the document and its status, we're also able to track the distribution of this document, because a lot of times in construction, it's less about what did you know and more about when did you know it. So in this case, my folks get a little bit nervous when I start talking about email integration, because the last thing they want to do as a project manager is have a second place that they need to check emails. The nice thing about BuildOps is we're not using it for checking emails. We're just using it for storing emails. You could be using Outlook or Gmail. We'll just say Outlook in this case. And then I can send it to anybody. We'll just say we're sending it to the general contractor. Now, when I go ahead and send this email out of the system, a couple things are going to happen. Copy's going to go to me in my Outlook. Copy's going to go to the general contractor. Copy's going to be saved here in BuildOps. And what we can see is I sent this in October, didn't get a reply. Sent it again in January, still no reply. Sent it in June, finally got a reply in June. Now, I know it's a little hard to tell because I'm emailing it back and forth to myself, but the bottom three are sends. The top one is finally my response. Now, when the recipient replies to this email, they're actually replying directly back to you into your Outlook. And then you reply to them like any other email, and they reply back to you. So again, you don't use BuildOps for checking or replying to emails. It's just storing them. And anytime this email is transmitted, there's a binding code that then brings it back into the system. So if you're running larger project teams with a project coordinator, a project engineer, project management assistant, it doesn't matter who on the team sent this email, everybody has visibility. And if there's ever a question about RFI number 2, I'm not searching through Outlook. I'm coming right into BuildOps and be able to see that complete communication history. And a lot of times in the contracts, they have to reply to these RFIs in a timely manner. And a lot of times they don't. And again, they're going to blow their schedule, blow their budget, and they're going to be looking to point fingers. And when they come, trying to point fingers at us, we've got that backup information to sort of combat those back charges, liquidated damages, delay claims, things like that. On the project management side, it's really all about, just CYOA, right? Cover your own behind. Basically an insurance policy. We're going to be doing something very similar on the change order side, bubbling up revenue, cost, profit, and margin on your approved change orders. Also, how many outstanding change order dollars that you have. Same sort of thing, draft, sent, responded, and approved. And once these change orders have been approved, we're actually going to add them to your schedule of values for billing. A lot of times on these larger projects, we're going to be doing progress billing. And a lot of times that progress billing needs to be a AIA type G702, G703 pay application. Now, what we're looking at here is the worksheet that I'm going to do once per billing period. I've got my original schedule of value line items here, plus any of the approved change orders, also retainage down here at the bottom, and I can come in and update my work completed this period. Obviously, take a look at the work completed on my previous applications, and I can go ahead and update this either as a percentage, or I can update this as a dollar amount. So up to you which way you want to go about incrementing this, either as percentage or as a dollar. And you can toggle in between the two. Now, once this worksheet is filled out, if this is like a pay app job, it'll create a pay app. If you just want to send a regular invoice, it'll just create a regular invoice. Let's take a look at, if it were a pay app, what that looks like. Very similar to that format where you've got your payment application followed by your continuation sheet or the schedule of values down below. Obviously, doing the calculations on change orders, doing the calculation on retainage. We can draw down on the retainage throughout the project if we need to, or all right at the end if that's the case. Now, because we're in the Finance tab, let's talk a little bit about our work breakdown structure. So we're able to break this job up into granular detail. By no means do you have to utilize this entire hierarchy, but it's there if you need it. So Jefferson High School here, it's got 3 floors. So I broke this job up by floor. Totally up to you how you break out your jobs, totally customizable per project. In this case, under floor 1, I've got my cost codes. Again, cost codes, those are, you're able to set those per project. You can have a master list of cost codes and then select which ones apply to this project, or you can create project-specific cost codes. So here I've got floor 1, ductwork, install, rough-in, etc. And, I can start drilling down and then see, the different cost types as well. So we're handling basically 3 layers. You've got your phase, your cost code, and your cost type. Now, depending on how you want to digest this information, you could change the grouping on the fly. So if I want to look at this by cost type, the totals are the same, but the grouping is different. So if I'm looking at my budget here, it's, luckily this is a demo account, so, I'm way over on material. I want to figure out, now I'm putting my detective hat on. I want to figure out where did this money go. So if I open material, oh gosh, looks like a lot of it went to floor 1. Let's go ahead and open up floor 1. And sure enough, it looks like it's hitting rough-in. And when I get down here, it's actually showing all the different transactions. And so I can see, all right, well, nothing strange here. Oh gosh, there it is, right? So it's pretty easy to dive in and, see at a granular level with these drill down menus where the money's going all the way down to the transaction level as well. So, hopefully that was just a mistake and we can go ahead and get that corrected. Now we're doing the same thing on the labor side. We were looking at labor dollars before, as well as all your other dollars, but this is just going to be hours. So same type of report, able to drill down, but broken up by hours instead of by dollars. So if you're self-performing that work, super helpful on this side. Now to kind of wrap up the document control side, the last thing I want to touch on is submittals. we're able to come in and list the individual items that we need to submit on this project. Now, totally up to you at what level of detail you break these up into. I have some folks who just put in one line item and call it submittal items. And then other folks will do something more like you see here, where they're breaking it up into granular detail. And for each of these line items, you've got a type. So is it product data? Is it shop drawings? Is it closeouts? Is it O&M manuals? What's the status? And then when do I need to submit this by? And also within each of these line items, you can add attachments. And really, at the core of a submittal package, it's basically just a group of attachments. So I can have one or multiple attachments with this individual line item. And then I can package these together however I see fit. So if I want to send one item off at a time, I can. If I want to include everything in one package, I could do that as well. So if I pop open the packages, we'll just pop open this one here. And you can see I grabbed the RTUs and the hangers, communication history, just like we've seen before. And BuildOps will actually take your individual line items, their attachments, and staple them all together into one package. Here on the cover page, it'll let you know what items you should expect to find. And before each set of attachments, you'll have an information page that lets you know, hey, this is product data for the RTUs. And then after that, here's, whatever attachment you've included. And then before the next set of attachments, it's going to let you know, hey, this is product data for the hangers. Any sort of notes that I might include in there. And then the hanger information. And essentially, this will just repeat for all of the different items within this submittal package. And I can obviously track the status of the individual items or the package as a whole as we push it through that process. We talked a little bit about purchasing before. Same thing on the project management side. I'm able to cut POs. I'm able to track quantity ordered versus quantity received. And not only can I look at the POs and see the details there, down here below, I can see the actual items that I've ordered within the POs. So down here is basically opening up those POs for me so that I can keep an eye on everything that is going back and forth on this project and see, what's been unfulfilled, partially fulfilled, and, fully fulfilled, etc. Last thing that we'll touch on here on the website of things is going to be the files. So for each of my projects, I can create, or I should say at a global level, I can create files that will automatically populate each of my projects. And I'm able to assign permissions to these folders. So, something like signed contracts, I'm not going to give that to my guys out in the field. But, approved submittals or answered RFIs, that's something that, we'll give to those guys out in the field. Now, you can create folders specifically on projects. Otherwise, your standard folder structure will carry over from any project that you create. Let's go ahead and jump in here and we'll take a look at project management from the mobile app. Nice thing is it's the same mobile app that we use for service. So let's go ahead and pull that up. And this would be a foreman typically who's going to be utilizing this. They see a list of the projects that they're assigned to. I'm working on Jefferson High School. Any notes, key contacts on the project. I can view files if I need to. So let's go ahead and open up our drawings and I'll just pop open one of these architectural sheets. And as you can tell already, I'm able to mark these up as needed as well. So if there's any sort of red lines or clouding that I need to do on a drawing, I can go ahead and take care of that. Purchasing, I can receive against POs that we've cut in the office if I need to, or if you allow me to, I can generate POs out in the field. But the big thing that I want my folks out in the field to be able to do is create a daily report. And on my daily reports, I got a few different sections. I've got a section for notes, and within notes, I have a few different buckets. So I want to know what work was completed, what problems you ran into, and are you trying to give away anything for free? And all of these sections work the same way. I can come in and add photos or videos either from my gallery or take those on the fly. And then again, I can use the talk to type feature to fill out the note section so that my project manager is getting a detailed account of what happened out on the job. Mark it as done, save it up. Forms come back into play on project management as well. So if there's any sort of safety forms or things like that, I need the guys to fill out, whether that's a custom whether that's a custom form or a fillable PDF. Works the same way as we saw on the service side. I can come in here and go ahead and check the boxes, fill in the blanks, that sort of thing on here. Save it up if I need to. Now, the big part on any work that you're self-performing is tracking labor. So I can either submit time as a foreman for my crew, or I can have individuals fill out their own time. Totally up to you which way you want to go about it. In this case, we'll show what it looks like for a foreman filling out time for his crew. So we'll come in here and add a crew. And a crew is just a group of people that's working together. And I can have multiple crews on the same job. It doesn't matter on the same day. It's just a way to batch enter time. So let's see, I've got Alan, and let's say I've got Gabe and Glenn. We'll go ahead and get them on here. Depending on where you're located, this really is important. So, we got start time. So what time did we start? We started at 7. When did we wrap? We wrapped at 3:30. And then it's automatically adding those hours up here in the here at the top, so that I don't have to do this math myself. So right now I'm at 8.5 hours, but let's go ahead and get that down to 8 with a lunch break. So we'll say we went from 12:30 to 1 o'clock for lunch. Then I'm going to go ahead and pick what cost codes that we're working on. So I was working on floor 1 rough-in and floor 2 install. Once I've got those in there, I can then go ahead and allocate my time into those different buckets that we saw before. So I had 4 hours here. So it auto decremented my hours. Over here on this side, I can do the same thing. And now I've distributed all those hours. Now what's nice is I can edit individual time entries before I go ahead and submit these if I needed to. So if somebody left early, I can do that. I see a high-level view of the hours here on the mobile device, but I can dive in there and see more detail if I needed to. I can track equipment, materials, other subcontractors that might be on the job. If I need the GC superintendent to sign this daily report because something really happened on there, I can capture their signature on this daily as well. And these daily reports will go ahead and come back into the office under the field report section. And I can view those as needed, email those out of the system, and then those hours are going to be hitting my budget as well. Now, last thing I wanted to touch on before we wrapped up today is on the inventory side. I don't have the greatest example in here, but basically you can create multiple different warehouses, whether those are physical warehouses or rolling warehouses as a truck. And for any of those warehouses, I can come in and take a look at my quantity on hand, my quantity used, etc. Let's go ahead and you can have different categories for your items and subcategories in there as well. If I wanted to look at a truck, I could do that. And then as I cut POs, I can add to my quantity on hand for particular warehouses. So, I'm in the negative here when, I should have a couple of these in the truck at all times. So pretty simple, but very powerful. You can get as granular as you want with sort of the breakout of your different items. Searching, categorizing, quantity on hand, and because this data is in the system, I can then report on information that is, or these quantities as they're getting close to my minimums. Now, when we talked about reporting, BuildOps has a very robust reporting engine. It's basically a business analytics tool like Microsoft BI or Tableau, built right into the system where you're able to create multiple different reports and different dashboards, do visualization of that information, whether it's a line chart, maybe it's a bar chart. Maybe you want some scorecards, right, for, open jobs or in progress jobs. If you want to look at top 10 customers by jobs or by revenue, do that as well. If you want to see on the sales side how you're performing there, your close rates, how close to your goals are you, your most profitable technicians, things like that, we're able to handle that on the reporting tool, and it's completely customizable. All of the information that we've entered into the system, you can report on. Whether that's in a table form, a scorecard, or any sort of different graphs, you can hover over to get the details, or you can actually open them up to see the raw data behind. I really like this idea of this gauge so that you could set goals for the team, whether that's billable hours, whether that's, dollars billed, whether that's quotes approved, whatever it happens to be, you can set your goals and then see how you're tracking against those goals. So very powerful on the reporting side, as well as the operational side. If there's any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Really appreciate everybody's time here on the webinar today. As I'm wrapping up, I'll go ahead and put our contact information up here on the screen. So if you want to reach out, please let us know.